Okay, have you ever gone out and recorded what you thought was the perfect shot, but you've got it back into Final Cut Pro and it's like this? It's super shaky. Well, I'm going to show you how to fix it just like this. This is the same shot, and I've just used a couple of techniques within Final Cut Pro's stabilization, and I'm going to show you another bit of free software that you can also use that you may not know about if you have a Sony camera. So let's jump into it.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here to the Editor's Keys channel, make sure to subscribe if you're a Final Cut Pro user, a filmmaker, or if you're just getting into content creation for the first time, because we have a ton of content on that. Right, I'm using Final Cut Pro today. We're going to jump in and we're going to play around with some of the shots that I've got outside the office. I'm going to show you different ways you can use these tools, because honestly, some of them work better than others. So let's jump straight in.
I'm in Final Cut and I've thrown in all of my clips into this project here. So the first clip I want to show you is the one that was in the intro. And the reason I want to show you this one is because all stabilization was off within the camera, none at all. And I think, as you could tell from the intro, we got that to look really, really smooth. Now, there's a couple of ways you can smooth it down. There's one way within Final Cut Pro, and there's another way using a bit of software that I'm going to show you at the end, which can work with mainly Sony cameras, but you can get versions that work with other cameras as well. So the first way I'm going to show you how to improve this is in Final Cut. And the reason I want to show you this clip is because this is one of the more problematic ones. This is where you might be vlogging and the camera's going left to right, up and down, the background's moving. It's probably the hardest of all of the clips to actually stabilize. So if I play this through now, you can just see how jittery and weird it looks. So if we throw on automatic stabilization, and if you're new to Final Cut, you come up to the inspector here in the top right hand corner, and then you come down to stabilization. If you put it on automatic, I'm just going to let this render through, and then we'll see how this looks. Okay, so this is rendered. Let's play it through. And I think this is the reason why many of you may not use stabilization, because look at that background. It's like warping up and down. It's looking really, really crazy. It does not look good. So within Final Cut, what I want to do first of all is explain the stabilization modes. Now you've got automatic, which is what I think most people leave it on. Then you have something called inertia cam, and then you have something called smooth cam. Now I find inertia cam doesn't work particularly well for shots like this. I think if anything, it actually makes it worse. So just gonna let this render through. It throws around the background even more. But inertia cam is really good when you have clips that are just panning from left to right or in and out, I find. And I'll do some example of those in a bit. And there is also smooth cam as well. And smooth cam is what we're gonna use, because in Final Cut on this one, we have to be quite subtle. So here we go, this is inertia cam, this is the first one. And I think it looks even worse because it's kind of got rid of the shake, but it's just warping the background so bad that it throws your viewer off, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change this to smooth cam. And as we play this through, I'm just gonna let this render once again. Okay, as we play this through, you can see everything is shifting. So what you need to look at in smooth cam and what you should play around with is these three settings here. So we have translation smooth. This is essentially the effectiveness or how much is going to crop into your footage. Now you can actually put this up a little bit. We've got rotation, which is essentially that within your footage, and we have scale. So if you're zooming into something, if you're moving quickly towards something, that's where you could use it. But what I find is sometimes when it's in automatic mode, it throws these things up, and then when you play it back, it's going completely crazy. So what I would technically do is I would take the scale smooth straight off. Okay, the rotation, we're not actually rotating all that much. It's only like a little amount of rotation. So I would take it down to maybe there. Play around with this, of course. And then the translation smooth, we're going to try it down a little bit first of all. So let's play this. Still not looking great. Let's take it slightly higher. Let's try this. Looking slightly better, I would say. Let's try the rotation smooth all off. That looks the worst. So we know that actually the rotation smooth, if we let's bring this up a little bit, because the key thing here is you want to get to that sweet spot. You kind of want to be looking at your footage and thinking, what is that footage doing here? Right, so maybe we can try the scale move just up slightly. Let's take this down a little bit. Let's crop in a bit more. Let's play this through. And as you can see, we are slowly getting a little bit closer to what we need. Okay, so I've played around with it. Now, of course, this is the absolute worst case scenario. So let's have the playback with it off. Let's play it through. Look how bad that is. And let's try our best option here in Final Cut. I'm going to turn that on. We've put the translation smooth up to 3.79, the rotation down a little bit to 1.24, and the scale smooth all the way down. Now, not perfect, but let's turn this off to this. I think that's a big, big improvement, but I'm going to show you an even better way as we go forward. Let's look at some more shots. The next shot I have here is me walking through the churchyard gates here in Penzance, and as you can see, it's jerky, it's not looking good. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on stabilization, and this is one that I'm going to try with inertia cam. So inertia cam, as I say, is one of those ones which I think works a little bit better when there's just some straight movements within shots. So let's turn the inertia cam on. Let's see how this looks already. Already, I think that's looking a lot smoother considering stabilization was off. Now let's try turning this up a little bit to 1.9. Let's let it render. And there we go. I think that shot is looking pretty good. Goes a bit crazy in the middle there, I think you can see. But overall, let's play that back without it again. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Look at that. Let's turn it on. That's looking pretty good. So shots where you're moving forward like that, inertia cam is the one to try. The next shot here is very steady. I've now turned stabilization on a little bit in the camera. So we just have slight shakes that we need to take out. So again, I think this is a good one for inertia cam. Let's first put on smooth cam and see what happens. And it's okay, isn't it? But you can see a slight bit of warping there. It's actually not as bad as some clips I've seen, but let's move that to that inertia cam again. And I'm just going to turn this up to about 170 and let this play through. Again, I think the inertia cam just looks a little bit better. So I think it's worth switching between the two. This next shot is a shot where I'm actually trying to stay as still as possible, but you can see the camera is shifting around. It really doesn't look that good, but here's a little trick you can use in Photoshop. So I'm going to turn on stabilization. I'm going to leave it on automatic, but by default, you'll get to this mode here and you'll see that tripod mode is now enabled. Now in this shot here, where I'm walking around and we put it back to automatic, you can see I don't have tripod mode. It's grayed out there. If we go to the inertia cam, it's grayed out because it can look at the footage, it can interpret it, and it kind of realizes you're not on a tripod. It's not going to be able to do the job. So let's come back to this shot. And as you can see, straight out of camera, it's jittery. So what you want to do is try out this tripod mode. Look how good this is going to work. So stabilization, I'm going to tick the tripod mode. I'm going to leave everything else to automatic. Let's give it a second to render. Now look at that. It's got rid of those micro jitters altogether. So if you don't have a tripod with you, check out tripod mode in stabilization. So before we even get to this stage, usually I would recommend checking out the stabilization within your camera, because this can help or hinder the stabilization process, and something I'm going to show you a little bit later on. So I've got the Sony ZV-E1, and most Sonys will have either off, steady shot, or active or dynamic active. You may have some of those, you may have all of those. Now I've got all of those and I'm going to play these through. So this is stabilization completely off. As you can see, it's completely crazy. It's really not looking good. Next up we have standard, which looks a little bit better, but I still wouldn't say this is all that great. The sweet spot, I think, is the active stabilization, which is this one here. There's still a small amount of shake, you can see it in the corners, but it looks stable enough and it doesn't look jittery, which is the main thing. Next up is dynamic active. Now this one actually looks okay in this shot, but generally if you get any poor lighting, you'll start to see micro jitters, and they're kind of like digital effects, because the camera is digitally trying to stabilize the footage. If the lighting's right, if the writing isn't right, if the shutter speed isn't correct, you'll start to see this. I'll play you a clip of myself here so you can maybe see this a bit clearer. Okay, so if you use dynamic active stabilization, yes, it's a lot more stable, but it does create these kind of micro jitters sometimes in the shot. So I don't like using them. I actually prefer to film in camera with a little bit of optical stabilization and then edit it in post to get much better stabilization than this dynamic active. Also, I'm going under a tree. It doesn't perform that well in low light capabilities as well.
and you often need to increase the shutter speed, and it crops in a lot as well, as you can see. This is a 60mm wide lens, so it's not too bad, but it can really crop into your footage.
Now, why I've mentioned the different camera stabilization modes is they can actually negatively affect stabilization within Final Cut, especially when you have close-up subjects. So here I've got stabilization off, and we're quite close to this Cornwall Council sign, bit jittery. Next we've got dynamic, which looks a little better, still a bit jittery, and then we have dynamic active, which didn't even do a very good job, I don't think personally. But when we throw on stabilization, I'm just going to turn it on for all of those shots. I actually think that for those very close-up shots, when you have stabilization turned right down, Final Cut does a better job. So you can see this is stabilization turned on. Actually looks okay, but as we go up, this one again looks okay, but when we get to the digital, look how warpy this looks, because essentially you've got digital on digital. They're both trying to fight each other. They're both trying to interpret what each other's doing. The camera tried to do it, now Final Cut's trying to do something to what the camera did. So it's not good. So if you are filming close-ups, I recommend filming with stabilization turned right down if you want to adjust it in post, or try the next method, filming in slow motion.
We don't have a sponsor for this video, so we're going to be the sponsor instead. We are Editor's Keys, and this is the brand new Final Cut Pro video editing keyboard. If you're new to Final Cut Pro, or even if you're a bit of a pro, check this out. This is new. This is backlit and wireless. It has 3 levels of backlighting and all of the keyboard shortcuts for Final Cut Pro. Not only does it look pretty great, it's going to make you a more productive editor. You're going to be more productive than you ever have been before. So check these out. I'll put a link in the description below, and there might even be a little discount code there as well, as a thanks for watching this video. Now back to the tutorial.
Okay, now let's say you've got an older camera that doesn't actually have dynamic or active stabilization. What is a little technique you can use to make your footage look really steady? Well, the trick is to film in slow motion. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch the camera over to 50 frames a second or 100 frames a second and slow it down. So I'll do a walk just at 25 frames, and then we'll do one in slow motion, slow that down, and it's a really nice way to stabilize your footage because it kind of smooths out the jitters that you get when you're walking. So let's try that.
Back to the timeline, let me show you how this works. So this is the shot that I filmed at 25 frames a second. Remember, leave a comment below if you need help with this kind of thing, but if I try and slow this down, I'm going to go to automatic speed. You can see here that you can't really slow it down. Its speed is 25 frames a second. If I try and slow it down by 50%, let's say, it just looks jaggedy. It looks like a VCR kind of 90s program, that kind of thing, right? It doesn't look very good. So here's the beauty. If you film in a higher frame rate, most cameras can do 50 frames a second. My particular camera can do 50 and 100. I've just done 100 to show you. So this can go down to 25% speed. So when we play this through, stabilization isn't on. Let me just play this forward a bit. Stabilization isn't on, but because time is slowed down, those jitters that are quite quick are now slowed right down. So if you are trying to show something in slow motion and you don't have stabilization on your camera, if you're getting B-roll, you know, those extra little clips for your videos, this is a good way to do it. But you can, of course, add stabilization to this as well. So I'm just going to chop the clip a little bit, and let's add some stabilization to this as well. See how it looks. There we go. So now this has automatic stabilization turned on and it's slow motion. And that looks really good. It almost looks like it could have been shot on a gimbal. Let me show you with those flags there in the distance. So again, pretty stable this shot, but you can see it shifting around. What I'm going to do is we are going to make this automatic speed. Not only does it look pretty cool, but as soon as we get past the initial, I want to set up the camera, it looks steady because we've slowed the motion down. But also, I think slow motion like this looks really, really good for your video. So it looks good, it improves the stabilization as well. Okay, so if you want to take your stabilization to the next level, or you're finding that Final Cut is just not doing a good enough job, a little bit like that first shot that we got of me just vlogging, that was an extreme case where we could improve it maybe 50-60%, but it wasn't quite 100%. It wasn't what I would say is gimbal-like footage. There are extra bits of software that you can get and they essentially use the gyro data, the gyroscopic data from your camera. If you've got a Sony made in the last 10 years, or newer Panasonics or Canon cameras, a lot of them will have gyroscopic data, and that basically records the movement of your camera. So this software, this is called Catalyst Browser, the one I'm going to show you today. It's absolutely free from the Sony website, and there's one called Gyroflow as well. They use that gyro data to basically work against the opposite way that your camera moved. So if it knows your camera went up, it's going to pull you down. Let me show you. So this is Catalyst Browse. I'll put a link in the description below, and I think it's going to blow your mind. So this first shot here, this is the one. I'm just going to make sure, because I was obviously playing around with this earlier. There we go. You can see this was really, really hard. This is something that I wouldn't expect Final Cut to improve. It's very, very shaky indeed. So when you open this software, import your footage like this. This is the free version, so you can only do one clip at a time. It is an extra step, of course, but I really think it's worth it. So what you need to do is just essentially, if you want to do your stabilization, is come down the bottom here to adjust clip. It's now going to load up this page here, and you'll see preview not analyzed. Now, I know it's probably looking a bit scary for some people new to this, but what you need to do is just on the right hand side here, you can have lens breathing compensation on. You can leave that on if you want. You can leave everything on auto, stabilization auto, and just click analyze. What it's going to do is going to take a second or two. It doesn't take very long, like you see. And you can see the little graph along here on the bottom. That's all of the movements that our camera made. Now, you can see already it's cropped in between the two shots here, but just let me play this through. This is a side by side. So just look at the shot on the left compared to the stabilized gyro data. It's almost perfect. Yes, it has cropped in a bit, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But this is the software that I wanted to point out, because this does a much, much better job than Final Cut Pro does. But essentially, you can pull your footage into here, export the footage, and then pull it into Final Cut, and then you don't have to do anything there. So it is an extra step. So how this works, as you can see, there is these lines, a bit like a heartbeat going across the bottom here. And you might be saying, well, it's cropped in too much and my lens is already cropped. Well, what I find is if you come back here afterwards and you turn this to manual, you've got the cropping amount here. Now you can really crop in a lot here, and that's going to improve the stabilization. If you reduce it, it's going to slightly reduce the stabilization, but you can see this new line here popping up at the bottom of the screen. Now, what I've found, to be honest, you can turn this all the way down and just go to where most of the peaks are, about there. Let's play this through. Whoops, let's just get that to fit. And let's play this through again. So we've cropped in, yes, a little bit, but not as much as the auto mode. And still, looking at that, it looks absolutely fantastic. You could probably even go out a little bit more. Let's go out even more. So we're only cropping in a tiny amount. Let's go in maybe to about there. Now we're kind of, if you look at that graph, we're now halfway through. So essentially anything above this line is not really going to be stabilized. It does a little bit of a job on it, but you are going to have some of that natural movement in there. Now, as you can see, it is a little bit more shaky, but actually I would still say this is 100 times better than the footage here on the left. So if you have a lens that you can't crop in too much, you can still use this and then just pull the cropping down, and that looks 10 times better. Look at that. So what I'm going to do is, let's pull in some more shots. I think that looks really good. So as I say, I would just pop that up just about there, because I've got a 16mm lens. Play that through. About there is perfect. It looks stable. It's almost gimbal-like, and it's free to use. So let's just go to another clip as well. Let's look at this shot here, which did a good job in inertia cam, but let's try this. Let's go to analyze, just clip, sorry. Let's click analyze. And we can see here the movements. And just look how good that is. So this is a secret that I think most editors keep to themselves, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. I know Mark Bennett at Camera Crisis uses this a lot, and this is one of the things. I don't use this every time I film, but you know when you just have that shot and you maybe forgot to turn on stabilization, or you've got a shot that you've tried everything, you've tried the warp stabilizer in Premiere, you've tried the thing in Final Cut, and it just doesn't look good. This is where I would say to come next. Now, when you come to export, this is the next thing. So we're going to go to export. You want to set up your settings here. It is going to take it down apparently to 8-bit footage. So it is going to reduce the quality slightly. I mean, to be honest, I don't really notice a difference, but if you're doing this for broadcast, you may need this. You can buy something called Catalyst Prepare. And what Catalyst Prepare will allow you to do is do your adjustments on multiple clips and then just export, say, 100 clips in one go. Super fast, super easy. Because this is the free version, you can only do one clip at a time. Now, as I say, I use this mainly if I'm doing a bit of vlogging. The rest of the video is okay. I'll use it to kind of rescue footage. So just bear that in mind. Keep all your settings here as normal, 100 megabits per second. You can see it's 4K and everything else, and just hit export and you're done. And then you get footage that looks like this. Let's look at some before and afters.
So there we go. I hope this video has helped you. If it has, let me know in the comments section below. And if you're struggling or if you have any questions, pop them down there as well, because I promise we do get back to every single question asked. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.